Hello, people of the United States and the rest of the world. Tonight, it's Spoilerin time. And I share with you tonight from the bottom of my heart the belief that we will spoil episode 3, season 1 of Justified, episodes 4 and 5 of season 1 of Mad Dogs, and episode 8 of The Expanse. But I would remiss if I didn't mention that it was impossible for me to spoil any of these shows without the help of my partner, and I would like to say my friend, Brian Brushwood.
Well, you know, that's a little bit much for you to be saying in public. Our friendship is a private affair. I'd prefer if we kept our friendship in the friendship space and our professional
So you want a zone of like a friendship zone?
That's where I'd prefer to keep you. If you were thinking about getting closer than the friend zone, then let's you know what? Maybe co-host zone is the better zone.
Yeah.
For
for loading and unloading only?
Maybe a roommate zone, occasional roommate zones.
Yeah, well, you know, once a year.
Once a year when I come live with you, it's fine.
Hey, Brian Brushwood, it's Spoilerin time.
Yes.
Let's start off by talking about the movie draft.
Oh, geez. R.I.P. movie draft. R.I.P. Brian's chances. It was a delightful adventure.
I am in Egypt, Brian.
Well, I'm sorry. Oh, you're in the promised land?
I'm living in denial.
Oh.
Yeah. I really, I know there's 2 weeks left. I know the math doesn't work out for you to win, but I can't believe you won't still win somehow.
Oh, I won't. You're at 711.
How is that possible?
I don't know. It's magic. And Movie League Mike on Twitter is the one who called it. He writes the Crumdum analysis that's available on the Reddit at diamondclub.reddit.com. He's right. There is 0% chance of me making up the $40 million deficit in the next 2.5 weeks. Star Wars would have to make an unprecedented $55+ million out of nowhere, just last minute. And ahead, that's $55 million more than whatever it is you're making right now. That's insane. I can't believe it, man.
You know who's more excited about this than I am?
Who?
Eileen.
Why's that?
She's she loves the movie draft. And she keeps asking me about it. And she's like, you're going to win? She's like, if I see Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell ever, I'm going to tell them, thank you. You helped my husband win the movie draft.
What is amazing is knowing Eileen, that is a very likely thing sometime in the next
It's possible,
20 years.
right? It's not impossible.
That is amazing. Congratulations, Tom. And to me, what's exciting about this is, number one, we navigated the trickiness of how to handle such a big blockbuster. Number two, it's less a testament to my, ability to say go Star Wars, and more to a testament to the fact that you made great picks that vastly outperformed expectations. It was huge.
I moneyballed this thing. And I honestly do it every year. I've been doing it for the past 3 or 4 drafts where I make an estimate of what I think it's going to make. I may have a spreadsheet that calculates how many dollars you should maximally spend on a product. And the only thing that I've been changing is when I pull the trigger, when I allow myself to go above my limit. And this year, I don't know if it was because we had Star Wars off the top or it was the randomness of the order. But I was able to put together picks that worked. Spectre, Peanuts, Daddy's Home kind of carried me along.
Dude,
and I don't want to count my chickens before they've hatched, but it does seem like it's a good bet.
Yeah. By the way, in the Chat Realm League, no X in Escape with over $1 billion.
Right?
And again, I can't believe that the Chat Realm League always seems to have just one winner.
Yeah.
He picked The Martian, Bridge of Spies, Crimson Peak, Goosebumps, The Last Witch Hunter, the Peanuts movie, Krampus, Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Chip, Daddy's Home, Joy, and The Revenant. How about that, man?
Yeah, whoever somehow picks the best purchases, the best dollar per dollar spent, ends up alone in first. And it looks like it's going to be no X in Escape. Because again, he's like 41 million in front of the next closest person.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, man. Shall we move on to spoil some things?
Yeah, let's get some triage in real quick. Tim Mathis wrote in to us, said, first, let me start by saying Mad Dogs was crazy good. I had seen it pop up on Amazon Prime, but seeing that you guys were watching it made me check it out 2 days later, and I'm finished with them all. That brings me to my problem, Brian. There have been a number of times that I've watched something after you guys started spoiling it. I find good shows from that, But after I've caught up to watching them, I really like to hear what you guys had to say about them, so I try to go back and find those episodes. It's almost impossible. With Mad Dogs, I really wanted that first impression you guys had, but I couldn't find where you spoiled the first episode. Only the recent ones with Romney, who is great, by the way. I wish there was an index for the shows, or even better, and probably not going to happen, cut together into one spoiler show for each season of a show. I love both sides of Cordkillers, but Spoilerin Time is by far my favorite. Oh, you're just saying that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that is interesting, especially because we spoiled Mad Dogs when it was a pilot. So it's way far back. It's there. You can just keep going back on cordkillers.com and you'll eventually run into it. It's in the title of the Spoilerin Time episode, but that's pretty tedious.
Yeah, and I know there was a fan effort where there was kind of an open source document where people were putting what things we spoiled when or whatever, but I'm going to come right out and say complicating the issue is the fact that I have a tendency to get distracted by shiny objects and leave certain things unfinished. I still haven't finished Sense8. I still haven't finished Man in the High Castle. I still haven't finished a lot of things. So it's like that's certainly not helping things. However, if somebody does want to kind of, revive that effort to figure out what we said when, we're all for it. But I agree, man. That's a rough problem.
And I'll say it's not the most elegant solution, but on YouTube and on the RSS and stuff, we try to put the show titles and the episode numbers in just standard nomenclature. So 101 for like the first episode of season 1. So you could use the search on our YouTube channel to nail down where those episodes are. It's not perfect, and I think some of the older stuff did not have that. But that is something to kind of Band-Aid it.
Man, the only thing I don't like about this solution is that the fact that I'll be called out in black and white for all the things I didn't finish.
Well, two things here. Sergeant Muffin points out diamondclub.tv/show/Spoilerin Time has all the episodes indexed if you want to have a faster way of scrolling, which is fantastic. But the reason I'm kind of chuckling is just to see if I could find it for this person. I typed in to Google Mad Dogs, Cordkillers, Spoilerin Time, and the very first search result is it's Spoilerin Time, episode 56, Mad Dogs pilot.
All right.
From February 4th, 2015.
This does not invalidate his point. His point is,
it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes people forget that like search engines can actually work because they don't work so often.
Allegedly.
So.
All right, what do you want to spoil
let
first?
Let me Google that for you in this case, but it definitely worked for me, and I will put the link in the show notes at cordkillers.com so that you, my friend, can go find it there.
Right on.
Now, should we spoil The Expanse?
Yeah, let's dive in with that. I think that's the most exciting thing. I got to tell you, Tom, first of all, we've talked before about how The Expanse is really taking hold on me. I've talked about how, I'm becoming more familiar with all the characters and their particular traits, but to me, the real characters are Earth, Mars, and the Belt. This is the first episode where we see the joining of two of the three threads that we've been watching this entire time, right? We have characters finally meeting up, falling in under difficult circumstances where I assume they're going to band together and exciting things are going to happen. I was a bit of a victim of the fact of the chatter going into this because I saw so many people saying, this is the episode that changed everything. Now it's the episode that blah, 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 or whatever. And I guess I was maybe expecting something a little bit bigger than whatever it is we got. Instead, what we got was really interesting. We got more details on the scopuli. We got this weird, either, artificially intelligent, self-growing crystalline goo, possible alien consciousness thing, who knows what. I wouldn't put it past them to go in whatever of those directions. We continued to see the characters consolidate in interesting ways that I believe and trust. Loved seeing our drunk cop join the crew, and I've forgotten his name. You know his name. What's his name?
Miller.
Miller, yeah. Seeing Miller fall in with them. Liked it a lot. I liked the shootout. I thought all of it was very believable, and I didn't expect to, a shootout in an asteroid in, a noir cop drama. It's like there's so many things that on paper should have looked so silly, but instead believed all of it.
Well, I'm starting to get the feeling that I think you had when I was watching The Shield, which is not that I've seen The Expanse because no one has. It's coming out week by week. But I know the story and I know the characters and I know some of what's coming. Obviously, they're changing things here and there. And it's just such a joy to see that unfold. And I think that's probably, I don't want to say this because I don't know that this is the case, but maybe some fans of the book got a little over enthusiastic when they said, this is the thing that changes everything, because they were just so excited to see Miller and Holden finally get together, right? Finally meet, which is, you know, these two big threads coming across. And yeah, if you're just watching the show, it's like, well, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Why is that such a big deal? Well, it's a big deal for people who followed these characters through 6 books. That's why, you know, we're reliving that first meeting again. That said, I'm extremely pleased that all of this played out well. I thought the gun battle was fantastic as well. I thought it was choreographed well. I think I can't say anything particularly about this episode because we have stepped into a new thread as far as, like you said, with the goo and the girl who's got the weird infection in the bathroom, and now Miller and Holden are teaming up. No, they're not teaming up, but you know, their storylines have merged for the moment. And I'm really excited to see how the rest of the next parts of the story get told.
This is so great because you're absolutely correct. Like, if I imagine that the Shield is the story of the Strike Team, but the Strike Team really only came together 8 episodes in, this is exactly how I'd feel. And it does feel like, okay, the Avengers have assembled, and we kind of have this menacing threat from Earth, you know, in the form of what's her name, and we have this crew coming together in a stolen Martian ship that have made some uneasy alliances with terrorists and so on. Like, I've got a pretty good sense of everything structurally. I'm really, really excited to see the characters grow on me more, because I know there's more depth to the characters, and I certainly don't fault them for being light on that depth early on. This is not a character-driven show, in my experience. It's a world-building show with a, you know, it's the mystery that's driving it right now. But as we learn more about I don't know, I would just love. It took a long time before all of a sudden, you know, Shane, Vic, Ronnie, and Lem became people to you. Yeah. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. Is there's still categories of bit players, and I look forward to the moment when I can anticipate the kind of thing this guy would do or that guy.
Right, and it's interesting to see how they treat these, because again, as I've mentioned before, in the books, they all already know each other really well from the camp, right, from the Canterbury, and in this, because they want to take more time to help you get to know them, they have them not quite know each other so that they can get they can bring them together in front of you, and you as a viewer can get to know them at the same time. I'm curious when that will happen. I know that this is the first time we see Holden and Naomi kind of not at loggerheads, right? This is the first episode where they've seemed to be teaming up a little more rather than arguing about what the next step should be. So maybe that's an indication that you know, that this is starting to coalesce these people as a team. But then now they've had this gun battle, and you throw Miller into the mix, and that changes things.
Yeah, no, again, my enthusiasm continues. I'm very, very excited. I think we might, I got to check and see if I'm able to download this content to watch it offline on the plane tomorrow. Because we're going on a flight, and that would be fun for Bonnie and I to get.
How are you watching The Expanse?
I just bought the season, and again, I tend to do this on Amazon just for convenience's sake. It's you know, it's not free, but it's cheap enough, and you get high enough quality or whatever that I really do feel ripped off by that Rebels thing we talked about in Cordkillers.
Yeah, I think that's just bad policy. I mean, I don't care if they want to charge you that much. That's their own call, and you can decide if it's worth it. But come on, man, just be honest about what you're buying. I know they were. Like, the iTunes thing says season 2, part 1, like it implies there'll be a part 2, but people don't pay attention to that stuff closely, and that's not what we expect. That's anyway.
Well, and if anything, season 2, part 1 implies, it'll be season 2, part 2, and I'm buying season 2, or I guess technically you're buying part 1.
It's just a mess. Let's talk about Mad Dogs, episodes 4 and 5. We're getting to the height of the arc. It's a 10-episode season, and I am constantly tantalized by how this story continues to reinvent itself as it goes along without losing my believability in these characters. And I know Romney was kind of, I felt like last week he didn't want to oversell the idea of the complexity of these characters because it is, it is a comedy-based drama. But what I really have noticed is these characters would normally be paper characters, right? It would be like, the story is the situation, this weird, crazy situation that they're caught up with. But these characters, they keep giving them aspects of personality to make them deeper. They're not just paper cutouts.
Yeah, and they do so in a good way. Like, it's a bit of a fractal. The very first episode, the pilot, you have Milo, who's this alpha person, this alpha dog who has won, and he's, showing off to his loser friends or whatever, who all have some kind of trouble that, and they're all roughly the same age, early 40s and so on. Then once Milo's out of the picture, you get the deeper level of finding out. You get hints that Gus has been disbarred for some reason, and you get the idea that I forget. I'm still working on the names as they set in. By the way, closed captioning does help tremendously to help you remember various people's names. But it's funny because it seems like they're all taking turns being the jerk ruining things. It's like they all share responsibility for being in the tremendous trouble that they're in, because each one of them in their own way has leaned on their own shortcomings to put them there.
No, that's a really good point. Like every time it's easy to say, like, it's the kind of story where every time it looks like everything's going to turn out fine, it doesn't because somebody messes it up. Stories have been told that way. And that's a great way to tell a story, but it's not just that. It's each time is a different character consistent with that character and something you've learned about them, messing it up in that particular way, or even not because of something you learned, but a kind of a natural growth of the character. I think Joel, is it Joel? The teacher, like, he has definitely changed the most since they've gotten to this island.
Well, he's also the one that pulled the trigger on the sheriff, right?
Right.
Or on the cop. By the way, how about Solverson showing up? How great was that?
I was just about to ask you about that. Like, did that take you out of it at all?
No, loved it. And I loved, there's no way to say this that's not creepy. I loved the artistic direction to show her awkwardly peeing in the jungle. Like, that was a very visceral, very real thing that made me believe, because you need moments like that to keep you in that place and in that moment. How horrific is it to just look at an Amish dude with two stumps where his hand should be? It reminds you that the people they're dealing with have teeth. Jesus is apparently a dominant figure that is terrifying.
Jesus is everywhere.
I don't know that I am in love at episode 105. I don't know that I'm in love with the intentionally vague storytelling as to what happened to Solverson. They show her peeing. You see some goats. And then you get 5 minutes of them saying, "Where's Detective Solverson? I thought she belonged in Fargo." And then there was like, "Well, I bet she fell down this hole," or whatever. And it's like, and again, I am confident that they will take me through something coming forward here. But it was a little bit, by this point, they built up enough credit with me that I was like, all right, where are you guys headed with this? I will say, if they never pick it up again, I'm going to be super annoyed, because that's a dumb, bad way to just leave a thread dangling.
Well, yeah, and I think you're right. I have enough faith in this story now that I assume that there is not the obvious. Like, the obvious answer is, oh, she fell. Like, okay, well, no, nothing is obvious here. The cop pretending she didn't know them and actually being the cop in charge was, that's an example of that. And then her getting shot by Joel, big example. Did not expect that at all. So yeah, we still don't know whether to trust her or not.
Yeah,
they've laid lots of clues, and they've given her the perfect responses that could be a junior official just trying to answer to her best of her ability, or somebody who's absolutely leading them astray. Remember, they were supposed to be going to the border, and she's like, "Well, I just had to find a place to pull off the side of the road." Really? like something else is coming. There's
well,
another shoe
and
about to
also
drop.
they do. There's just enough very believable red flags that are, these red herrings that are meant to throw you off the scent. Where it's like, well, is she upset because of the sexism from the guys? Is she, was this all part of her master plan? Is this as impulsive as it looks like when she's doing this? And I don't know. The mere fact, I tell you consistently this entire series long, I have felt respected as a viewer. I feel like virtually none of the times that even when there is something that doesn't pay off, I feel like it was an intentional decision of this part of the mosaic needs something. Let's just throw in some random tension. And even though that tension won't pay off, it'll color how you experience this other stuff just the right way. And I feel like it's so taxing to watch this show, like emotionally, because to be honest, last time I felt this way was watching Utopia with you. It felt like just that heavy, like, oh God, where's it going to go now?
Yeah, what's going to happen next? No, I think the freak out where she made everyone get out of the car definitely was because of the conversation, but has an underlying tone of something else, right? So whether that something else is the stress of being a junior official who's trying to handle this and not feeling supported, or whether that's the underlying tension of somebody who's about to, turn these guys over to Jesus and is nervous about what all that means and meeting up with, could be all kinds of things.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it continues to surprise, and I'm really excited to go through the rest of it. So we'll continue to spoil Mad Dogs. What's left? I guess we got to talk about Justified.
Yeah, it's Justified. Talk about Justified.
Yeah,
So,
okay, he said it again, Tom. I can't, look, I understand it's 3 episodes in. I understand it's the title of the show.
It was Justified,
Okay,
Brian.
no, stop working that into our script. It's bad enough that they keep working it into their script.
But I mean, it's the name of the show.
I know it is.
It's justified for me to say it.
Okay, stop. Yes, it is justifiable. Can we just call the show Justifiable from now on?
Justifiably justified.
Ugh.
Yeah. This was again, and people said, just remember there's some Monster of the Week type episodes in the early going before it really hits its stride, and that's typical of shows, especially shows of the 90s and early 2000s. This was 2010, but where they felt like we have to do this in season 1, in case people jump in the middle before we really get going with a story arc. I liked this story though. I did. The guy from Sex and the City as the fixer, who's a mysterious, diner occupant who's obviously a gambler, and the sort of, I know that I know, but let's play it off, switcheroo, and of course our hero figure it all out and playing it perfectly and being justified in his shooting. And I do kind of like the idea that people would have heard of him, like, oh, you're that guy. And then that benefiting him, but also complicating things for him.
Yeah, I like the fact that they put just enough effort into developing the gardener as an interesting personality that it gave it some impact when he was suddenly randomly shot just to...
No, you like him because he's like, look, dude, I can definitely cut your fingers off. I don't want to. Not a monster, but I can do it. And it's like you start to build that kind of affinity for a character the way you built that affinity in play. It shows like The Wire, right? Yeah. We're like, yeah, you're kind of a monster, but
also interesting in that way.
Being.
Well, which is great to make that feint to get us to believe like, oh, they're going somewhere with this guy. He's dead. This guy's dead. Yeah. We just watch him get murdered. I got to tell you, as far as Monster of the Week episodes go, I like this one a lot. The only thing that I think is a bit dated, and do you know, when did this episode come out? I want to say
This episode came out on March 30th, 2010.
Oh, geez, I'm surprised. I guess that cold open where they're like, oh, this is a big, tough guy. He's real tough. What? He's bound up and enjoying some kind of BDSM sex? Crazy. Like that. That seemed like, I don't know. It felt very 90s to me in that regard.
Well, 6 years ago, it was a different time.
Justified.
It was Justified. Oh yeah, you mean when they catch the guy? Like, I just felt like that was a snicker backwoods, like, oh, look what got him in the end. No pun intended. That was a throwaway. It didn't feel 90s to me, but yeah, it didn't. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's the old joke.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It just felt like
felt very 2010 to me.
You know what? It felt to me the same as if he came out. They're like, we cut you out of the shower. And then like a male voice came from the other room. Like, are you coming back in? And it's like, what?
At least they didn't do a spit take.
Yeah.
Come on. Give them that much.
That's all. And again, like I understand, what are you going to do with a cold open on that kind of thing? That's fine. But anyway, that was the only thing that I thought was
this is what happens when Graham Yost doesn't write the show for the first time. Because it's only the third episode, and he wrote the first two.
Who's got IMDb open?
I look at Wikipedia this time, but yeah, pretty much. So yeah, there we go. I think we're justified wrapping it up there, Brian. What do you think?
Yeah, we are. And more importantly, we're justified in asking you guys to come back and join us for Spoilerin Time next week. And reminder that you could get Spoilerin Time episodes earlier than everyone else. You're justified in feeling smug and superior if you head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Well, if that's what you want to do, I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah, that's a perfectly justifiable way to end the show. It's just.
Defied.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.